Thank you, President. I think everyone, on hearing the news that two countries are signing an agreement on defense, should be really delighted. That, for starters, it means that you have two countries that are signing that we want to cooperate in defense, meaning that we'll never be at war with each other. That's point number one. And number two, we want to learn from each other. We're both naval powers, and there's a lot that we can learn from each other around the defense of our borders, the maritime and all that. And we also two countries that happen to get involved in peace missions, and being able to cooperate at defense level through an agreement also enhances that. Both of us are involved in helping Mozambique to ward off the insurgents in the north, and there's a lot that we have to share in common. Us as part of SADC, and obviously Portugal as part of the EU, but we do find ways of cooperating at a bilateral level. And much as there's a conflict that is raging in another part of the world, it does not mean that we should be deterred from entering into agreements that will bring us closer and cooperate much more effectively. Issues of technology that we have to share and talk about, and this agreement is a really great signal to both countries and to our peoples that South Africa and Portugal are two countries that cooperate and want to cooperate at a number of different levels, not only in trade and politics and investment, but in a number of other more complicated areas. So you should be applauding and celebrating that these two countries are cooperating at defense level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. Second question goes to Samgelo.
Thank you very much. Afternoon to both President Sousa and President Ramaphosa. President Ramaphosa, on the issue of the 6 African heads of state, you had a meeting yesterday, virtually. Just, are you able to enlighten South Africans and the African continent and the world at large on what was the basis of the discussions that took place yesterday between the 6 of you as the presidents, and when exactly will you be heading to Russia and to Ukraine? Secondly, Mr. President, on President Vladimir Putin, the Secretary General of your own organization, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, recently uttered that Russia, the Kremlin and the Russian Federation should not feel belittled if the invite for him to attend BRICS is withdrawn. Are you looking at other alternatives of hosting the BRICS summit virtually or taking it to Beijing, as I can see that he's currently in Beijing at this point in time? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. The discussions that took place amongst a number of heads of state on the continent have been discussions that have been going on for quite a long time. These African heads of states have been involved in discussing the initiative of peacemaking over a number of months. Yesterday, we met and confirmed that we now are at a stage where we are going to visit Kyiv and Moscow. And our mission is a peace mission, really, and we want to dub it as the road to peace. The first thing that we discussed amongst ourselves is that we want to listen to both sides. They need to outline to us their own perspective on the war, as well as what are their minimum requirements for bringing the conflict to an end. So clearly they will explain where they are themselves, and we will be there to listen, because it's important when you make an intervention for peacemaking that you should listen where the parties are coming from and where they are, and also where they want to go. And having done so, we will be able to give own perspective as Africans in terms of how we see this war having an impact on Africa in relation to food prices and grain prices and fuel, as well as the impact it is having on Europe and the rest of the world, because it has become a rather global type of conflict. And it is in that context that we will say we desire, and everyone desires, that there should be peace. And this being our peace mission, we will essentially be suing for peace and seeking to get a commitment on both sides that they too should seek for peace to end this conflict through peaceful means. And our position is that every conflict is often ended through discussions and negotiations, unless there's an outright defeat, and which we do not see here. So therefore, we see one option and one alternative, which is the parties sitting down to peaceful negotiations. Both of them say to us, yes, we're ready to negotiate, and we've been talking, but we would like to reiterate that conflicts of this nature that are having such an overriding impact on the lives of people should be negotiated. People should sit down and they should lay out precisely what they see as an end game. Where is this all going to end? And it is in that context that we will be able to have discussions. So that is what we were discussing amongst ourselves, and that is what we will be going to engage the two presidents on. As regards what the Secretary General said, maybe you should go and ask him. The last time one of you tricked me. The issue of President Putin attending the summit, the BRICS summit, as I've said, is being discussed in the light of the International Criminal Court having issued a warrant for his arrest. So we, as South Africa being the host, obviously we have to discuss this and come up with a clear position. Much of what you hear being said around is really just talk. It's real talk. As I said at one press conference, in the end, you will hear from me. I will be the one who will say, this is what is going to happen. You point to your watch. In politics, time is something that is lengthened quite often. So you will hear from me, my good friend, and we will be able to announce precisely what is going to happen with regard to the BRICS summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. The next question will go to Anna. Please introduce yourself and the publication you represent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ana Isabel Costa. I'm a journalist from the public radio in Portugal, Antena 1. I would like to return to the invitation that our president have made you today, several times in public, no pressure. Mr. President Ramaphosa, do you still thinking about the invitation of coming to Portugal next year, or you have already accepted this invitation? And to my president, if you allow me, I will talk in Portuguese. Sr. Presidente, disse que gostaria que o presidente sul-africano estivesse em Portugal.
You said the president of South Africa will be in Portugal in March to commemorate in Portugal the 50 years of the revolution. So My answer is very simple. The invitation will be for March, but for a simple reason. President Ramaphosa will be having other activities at that time, intense activities, because in the coming 2 months, March will be the best time for him to come to Portugal, to come and visit Portugal. And I was informed today that President Ramaphosa, that he was also affected collaterally by what happened in 1974, on the 25th of April, because he was celebrating for the coming of the independence of the Portuguese-speaking countries, namely Mozambique, when he was arrested. So he was arrested by the apartheid regime for celebrating the coming of the independence of Mozambique, while we were celebrating the liberty and democracy after the revolution of the 25th of April.
Thank you very much. President Sousa is very persuasive, if you did not know. He's extended the invitation, and as you correctly say, a few times. He's mentioned it a few times since he's been here, even in our talks and even in our tete-a-tete. So I've had no choice but to accept that I will go.
Finally.
I will go to Portugal. All obviously we need to do is to finalize the date, my diary and all that, and I'd love to go for a whole host of reasons. And of course, maybe to go and celebrate my own freedom, because having been arrested for what happened in your country, I'll go there and say, well, I'm now free, and also to go and celebrate the changes, the revolution that happened there, but also that we would be the very first South African president to visit Portugal. So that in itself is an important one, and also to seal the relationship that we have between the two countries. So there are many reasons why we would want to go, but I have accepted. Thank you.
And the last question to wrap us up goes to Amanda Khoza.
Good afternoon to the presidents. Mr. President, the DA...
Please introduce yourself,
Oh,
Amanda.
so sorry. My name is Amanda Khoza. I am a presidency correspondent for the Sunday Times newspaper in South Africa. To our president, Mr. Ramaphosa, the DA has gone to court, and Musima Imani's Busa organization wants the government to withdraw Russian President Vladimir Putin's invitation. What is your response to this? I'm also aware that the interministerial committee that you set up on the matter sat yesterday. Have you been briefed on how the meeting went, or you will wait for the Deputy President to brief Cabinet on Wednesday? Thank you.
Yes, I've noted that some people have gone to court, but in the end, matters of conducting foreign policy and matters of inviting whoever, like we invited President Sousa, is a function of the executive. It's not a function of other people outside of the executive. So it is the government, it is the president who invites other heads of states. That function is not devolved to any other person. The IMC met yesterday. Obviously, they're still finalizing their minutes and their report, and the report will be presented to the appropriate structure, me first, and thereafter it will either go to cabinet tomorrow or day after tomorrow, or on another day. Yes, it is tomorrow, on another day as well. So let's wait for the normal course of things before spreading rumors and untruths. What I can guarantee is that this matter will be well handled, and I will make the announcement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. We've now come to the end of this media briefing. Your Excellencies, you may take leave of us. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.